Hi everyone, this is video 5 or rather lecture 5 on Intro to Machine Learning series. Remember we were talking about data pre-processing in the previous video, so we are continuing that. We talked about how to deal with missing data, categorical variables, and now we're talking about something called train test split. So this is an essential part of our roadmap if you remember this picture, right? So in the data pre-processing part, as you can see, we have to split the data into training set and test set. So the question arises, why is that? Why do we need to do that, right? Okay, so first of all, even before we understand why we need to do that, what is a training set? So essentially, we are going to split our input data into two parts. So the training set is going to be a subset, obviously, because we are splitting the input data. So we're going to have a subset of our data using which we will create or build our model. Now, this is an important part of training set. So we are going to build our model using this data, which is the training set. So essentially, this relationship that we are going to derive between the dependent and the independent variable is going to be using the training set. So that is what my model will have in essence. Okay, the other splits, obviously I'll have my data, right? And this is, let's say this is my customer data that I'm working with. And usually a larger part of it, around 80%, is the training set. And then is the training set. And then the rest 20% is the test set, right? So both are obviously subsets, but this test set is utilized to evaluate your model. So you'll create a model using your training data, and then you'll test your model or you'll evaluate your model using your test set, which is like the other 20% that's left, right? An important or an essential part of data pre-processing is feature scaling. So we are going to do that after the train test split. Now there is this general confusion that I've come across whether feature scaling should be done before or after the train test split. And the answer to that question is that we should do that after. And the reason is that we are doing feature scaling so that we can scale variables up to a certain comparable value. And so, as we'll see in the next video, we do feature scaling because we don't want any particular feature or any particular independent variable to dominate more than the other, right? So basically, what we do, there are two techniques to feature scaling. One is normalization, the other is standardization. And in both of the techniques, we are essentially trying to calculate the mean and the standard deviation of the data that we have, right? So we are calculating mean and standard deviation, right? So if we do this calculation before splitting the data into training and test set, essentially we'll calculate the mean of the entire data set, right? So we will not exclude the test set, which ideally speaking we should exclude because this is considered to be something that's unknown, right? So we will use test set as something that we do not know, or the data that's unknown on which we'll test our model, right? So when we are calculating, we're doing these calculations to standardize our model, we will take this also into consideration, which we should not. And that's the reason that we'll do feature scaling later on, and we'll do the train test split before. So that's the answer to that question that is usually the reason for a lot of confusion. So feature scaling needs to be done after the train test split. Okay, so going back to the train test split, how do we do the train test split, right? So let's go to Spider, and this is the code that we already have, right? And then again, I'm using scikit-learn model selection is the module that I'm importing. So from sklearn dot model underscore selection, I'll import the class train test split. Yes, that's what it's called. So train test underscore split, right? And how do we do that? So we do a multiple assignment, and this is exactly how we do that. So I'm going to create an x underscore train. So this knows that this is the training set of the independent variables. So we'll separate the independent and the dependent variables. So x underscore train will have the independent variable, and x underscore test will have the again independent variables or the features for the test set, and then y underscore train will have the dependent variable, and then y underscore test will have the dependent variable for the test set, right? So we are splitting based on certain criteria. So how do we do that? I'm using this train underscore test underscore split, and obviously it takes some parameters, as you can see, right? So what do we want to do? What do we want to split? This is my feature and this is my dependent variable, right? And how much do I want to split? What should be my test size based on the entire data, right? So essentially this is my data. This is how it looks like, right? So what I'm planning to do is let's have a zero point 0.3 split, right? So a 0.2 or a 0.3 split. So in case of zero point 0.3 split, we'll have around 5 observations in the test set and 10 in the training set, or around that number, right? And then because we'll do multiple tests on this, every time this train test split is created using this class, it randomly picks up the data, right? I don't want every time different observations to be picked up, so I can seed this particular selection, right? So for that, what I can do is random underscore state equals 1, right? So I can seed this particular observation, and that's about it. That's it, as easy as that, right? So this is how I can do a train test split. Let me run this, and obviously it takes some time. Let's go and print and see the output, right? So print x underscore train, right? So obviously it won't have all the observations. As you can see, it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so about 9, and 6 would have gone in the test. A better, I think, split would be a 0.2. So this is this is based on like how we want to create this train test split. So let's try and do a 0.2. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah, this looks reasonable because 11 would be the training set and 3 or 4 would be the test set. So similarly, I can print all of these, in fact. So x test, x underscore test, and see that the observations in the test set, yes, the 3 of them. So that's good enough. And let's look at the y underscore train, which is my dependent variable. As you can see, this was the array in which I had the outcome. Similarly, we'll have the outcome in the y underscore test as well. I'm not too much interested in that right now, but I will be interested once I've created the model, and then I'll compare those outcomes with the test outcome to see how good or bad my model is, right? So this is how you do a train test split in Python. In the next video, we'll see how to do feature scaling.